Hey guys, what's going on, and welcome back to a brand new video. And today we're going to be rebuilding Leeds United. Obviously didn't have the best finish in real life. They survived in the Premier League by one position, finishing 17th. Today we're going to be giving them 5 seasons. I'm going to be in charge of making the transfers, and hopefully they can push up the table and possibly even get into European football. Now, there are rumours obviously surrounding Rafinha and Calvin Phillips leaving the club, but at the time of recording they haven't, so I'm going to keep hold of them. I'll do my best to do so, but obviously, you know, I am aware that they could be leaving, but at the time of making the video they are still at the club. But before we get into the rebuild, drop the video a like, be sure to comment below who you want to see next, and do subscribe to the channel. So that is going to be the first season of transfers done. We have decided to offload a few players. So we offloaded the likes of Luke Ayling to Monaco for 8.5 million, just above 8.5 million. Now these players I'm getting rid of, it's just because possibly they're getting old, or I couldn't agree a contract with them, and possibly I'm just not a big fan of the player, so that's the reason why they are leaving. So it's going to be Luke Ayling and Liam Cooper, who went to Shakhtar for 6.2 million. We then we spend some of the money we had. We've still got around 5 million, but I'm keeping it because there are a few players that do need contracts coming up shortly. We did manage to keep Rafinha at the club though with a new contract. We brought in Chris Mepham there from Bournemouth for 8.5 million, just because of his age really. He's got good potential. A lot of our centre backs are getting older, and he's got very good attributes, and for that price tag at 8.5 million I thought it was a steal. The next player was definitely a steal. He was on the free in Tolisso. Easily will get into our midfield, a great partner for Calvin Phillips, and he can play a load of positions, a load of roles in that midfield, so very flexible player. A player that is sort of worth around 25 million here, but his attributes, as you can see, are very well rounded. He's 5'11" as well, so he's not too small to have in the midfield. He will win headers. And the last, well, 2 more players actually, 21 million, again another midfielder, because there are a few of our midfielders are getting older, and also I don't know if I can keep Calvin Phillips, because it all depends if he's going to sign a new contract. But we bring in Jacob Ramsey from Aston Villa. I'm a huge fan of his in real life, because again he can play loads and loads of roles. He's only 20, decent potential on him, and all round just a very good player, good attributes, and I think he can grow in the team. We then go over to Tottenham to sign a player which is a bit of a gamble, but I honestly rate him. I just don't think he's really broke through at Tottenham as much as what people thought. And that is Bergwijn. We paid 31 million for him. Some of it was up front, most of it was in instalments, but again, a very good player. He will easily be our left winger, our starting left winger. So for me, it made sense to sign him because he has had experience in the Premier League. Yeah, he's not hit the ground running, but he's got very good attributes in game. He's reasonably tricky, bit of flair there as well, and also he's only 23, so he has got the potential to grow. But before we get into the first season, let's go into the tactics. I'm going to show you what the team looks like. Bearing in mind this is the best 11, so obviously sometimes, you know, it will. First off, Harrison's not in the best 11. That's because I'm registered. That's my fault. I've got to register him before we start. But I would probably do box to box. I probably would actually leave like that. Well, actually, I'll probably put Ramsey in there, to be honest. But this is how I would line up the first team. So obviously we've got Mulier, Dallas, Llorente, Struck, Firpo, Phillips, Ramsey, Tolisso, Bergwijn, Rodrigo and Rafinha. Now obviously we've got a lot of depth on the bench, and some of these players won't be sticking around the whole time. But the first season I didn't really want to sell too many players, because I don't know who's going to play well and who's not. There was just a couple of players that the right amount of money did come in, so I sold them. But the players we brought in are more just to bolster the squad and see exactly then who are the weaker performers and who needs to be sold on. Because obviously I'm hoping the likes of Dan James, who obviously Leeds spent a reasonable amount of money getting back in real life, I hope he does perform, but he's got to sort of outperform Rafinha and Bergwijn. Obviously he can play up front as well. I am using my Jurgen Klopp tactics, so because I do feel like the press does sort of help with that. I am going to be playing more positive though in attacking, just because of the squad that we've got. But let's get into the first season and see how we do. So that is the first season simulated. Then we've been given 20 million to spend, so I don't know if that means that we've not done very well, or whether that is just usually the type of budget they give their managers. But let's see how we've done. Now I am playing on an up-to-date database, so that does mean it's been updated again. So Nunes is at Liverpool, obviously Haaland's at City, even Basuma's at Tottenham, so all the transfers have been done. So it's going to be interesting to see how that affects the table. So let's have a look. Wow, okay, it's a lot better than what I thought, actually. I was not expecting to get Champions League until about 3 seasons in, to be honest, but some very bad seasons coming from Arsenal, United, Who else is down here? Arsenal and United are sort of the main two teams that have had real bad seasons. Obviously, Tottenham as well could have done slightly better. It's Man City that win it by a point compared to Liverpool. Runners up in the FA Cup final as well against Man City, and a quarter-final exit there to Leicester. So a decent performance all around, definitely in the Premier League, getting Champions League in our first season. It's going to be, we were the fifth best team at scoring goals, 64 scored, 53 conceded, making us the seventh best for conceding goals as well. We've got Rafinha and Rodrigo, joint top goal scorers on 18, highest match rating going to Rafinha, and most assists. So Rafinha probably picking up player of the season if we're looking at stats. But overall, I would say that is a very, very decent season. Better than what I expected. We'll have a quick look at the squad and, go over a few stats. We'll go goals, so we'll filter by goals first. So it's going to be Rodrigo with 18, Rafinha with 18, Harrison with 10. We've got Bergwijn and James with 7. So, I mean, Bergwijn not actually having a bad season. Obviously, the match rating says otherwise, but obviously he is still, it was a risk, but at least he's contributed in some way. This player here, Rafinha, obviously easily the player of the season, getting 15 assists and 18 goals. Rodrigo also having himself a very good season. So, everyone pretty much chipped in by the looks of it. If we go by match rating, obviously this guy actually played one game, so we're not gonna give it to him because all he had to do was perform well in one appearance. Yeah, one appearance. Okay, so yeah, that's easily going to go down to Rafinha there. But overall, everyone sort of played a decent path in this season, and we've come out, got Champions League, and moving forward we can sort of, well, we've got 20 million to strengthen. Obviously we're going to try and keep some of the players as well. Obviously I did save a little bit of money from last season to make sure that we could afford player contracts and whatnot like that, which I did manage to do. But let's go into season 2 then, and let's go and make some transfers. Before we get into that though, guys, if you are enjoying the video, do leave a like on the video. It helps the video get found. It really helps the algorithm, get some more people in to watch the videos, etc. And also leave a comment below on who you want to see next rebuilded. I've got another one coming up which is going to be Tottenham, but after that I'm open to suggestions. And last but definitely not least, do hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications. But let's get into season 2 of the transfers. So we've done season 2 of the transfers and we've spent a total of 65 million, but we have sold players as well. We sold a player. We sold Patrick Bamford to Southampton for 12 million just because he didn't do much last season really. And if we have a look at him, he is 28. Obviously he's not approaching 30, but he is getting that way. He's not really got much more growth either. Obviously Rodrigo definitely being the star man. But the first player we brought in was another centre half just because I do like to have depth there, and it is Andrea Carboni from Cagliari for 25 million, some in instalment, some up front. Again, he's a player that can play centre back and left back, which is quite handy. So obviously, as I do simulate the seasons, there could be injuries which I don't know about. So if we have got people that can sort of cover 2 areas, it is really good. But very good player, to be honest with you. Obviously a lot of room for growth as well. He's only 21 and he's already got 3-star ability. His attributes are good. Good tackling as well, coming in at 14, and he's 6'1", so a very good centre half, and obviously valued a little bit more than what we actually paid for him as well. We then go over to sign, I'm pretty sure everyone knows this guy, but Brenner. He actually did move to Newcastle, but we managed to get him for 40 million. Now this guy is a player that possibly could him and Rodrigo are going to be fighting for that main striker spot, even though Rodrigo has had a good season. This guy is 22, so still very young. Obviously I have agreed to get him to accept being a squad player for the first season. Going forward after that, depending on the season, we can sort of alterate that, and maybe Rodrigo can be on the bench and he can start. So we just have to see how it goes. But he is a very good player. As I said, he's not the tallest, but he's got got 15 finishing at the age of 22. Good acceleration, decent pace on him as well, and quite good off the ball with his attributes there. So that is going to be the signings for season 2. I feel like we've strengthened quite well. I wanted to get another goal scorer because obviously we are playing Champions League now. The competition might be a little bit harder. There's going to be more games to play, so I didn't want to sell too many players. So we have brought in 2 players and sold 1. So we haven't lost out on too much, to be honest with you. But let's get into season 2 and see how we do in the Champions League. So that is season 2 simulated. We've been given 79 million, which is quite a decent figure to work with. Obviously also 80% of the transfer revenue is available to us as well. The wage budget is looking reasonably good as well, so this tells me either we've had possibly, I don't know, I think it's too soon for a change of owner. Possibly we're just doing a little bit better for ourselves financially, or it does mean we've got another good league finish. So let's go and have a look then. Wow, okay, so it's progress from last season. We finished fourth in our first season, which I did not expect. I do honestly think a big part is the tactic, which is, you can see on my channel is the Jurgen Klopp tactic. Is very good in a team that suits a high press. Obviously, this got us third this season. Quite a big amount of very big gap there between the second and third place, but again, to even get top 4 2 seasons in is a big achievement with a side like Leeds. We lost in the semi-final. We got to the semi-finals of the Champions League. Quite a poor display in the FA Cup, but then we did play Chelsea, so it was quite a tough leg. And the semi-finals in the Carabao against Man City, we were the third best at scoring goals, which I think is an improvement. The fifth best at conceding 43, so not in the top half there. We're in the top half, but we're not in like the top teams there, that is for sure. 0 red cards, which is very unlike my teams. Brenner actually coming in and getting top goal scorer in his first season, which means that obviously he probably has been the star man ahead of Rodrigo. For Rafinha getting the highest match rating again and the most assists, and best pass completion actually Chris Mepham, obviously who we signed as pretty much a future to back up type of player. But let's go in then and look at, first I'm going to show you the squad, because I didn't show you the tactics last transfer window because I forgot. So this is the team that we've been using. Obviously this is the best 11 we've got. So we've got Mulier, Dallas, Carboni, Schruck, Firpo, Phillips, Tolisso. Rodrigo should not be in there. That's obviously what the manager's played. Get click in there. Okay, or not. Is it going to let me? Okay, click Rafinha, Bergwijn and Brenner. So obviously I imagine Brenner's been well, he's probably taken the main striker slot, which is fine because obviously he is a good player, but it is a bit disappointing for Rodrigo because obviously, he did have a great season. So we'll go into the squad. I've just seen, here we go, we can filter. Brenner is definitely going to be the star man. 27 goals. Rafinha with 23, so his consistency does continue because last season he did have a great season as well. Rodrigo with 14 goals, so it has fallen off a little bit for him, but obviously I don't think he has actually played quite a few games. 44 appearances, 4 as substitutes. Brenner's played 45, 6 as substitutes. So they played similar games. It's just this season Brenner has come out on top and Rodrigo has probably been on the bench. But that's not too bad at all. We then got Struck, I really don't want to butcher his name. 9 goals, which I imagine are from corners. We've got Bergwijn, again, pretty average stats, but again contributing 6 assists, 8 goals. Jack Harrison with 10 assists and 7 goals. So I'd say probably better than Bergwijn there, to be honest with you, because his contribution's a little bit better. Tolisso popping up and contributing. Calvin Phillips even popping up and contributing going forward. If we look at the match ratings, then we are going to have, if we go for this, we have got Rafinha 7.38. He is going to be the highest because he's played a lot of games. And then we've got Brenner coming in and some of the worst performers. Who's played a lot of games and been the worst performer? This guy down here has not been great. Mark Roca, sorry, he's played 26 games, 16 substitutes though. Okay, where does he play? He's sort of in the midfield role. Is there anyone that's played 40? 37, 40, so he's played a lot. He's started a lot. So it's actually Tolisso with not a great match rating, but he has contributed. So for me, that tells me maybe he's just not. I don't know. Your midfielders don't always get a ridiculous high match rating, but he is contributing. And the way that we finished the season, he obviously isn't causing too many issues. But going forward, I do sort of want to bring in one world-class midfielder. So obviously we've got Calvin Phillips in there, who is really good, but the rest of our midfield is good. Talisso's very good, but this centre mid spot, I could really get sort of an attacking centre mid. I know we've got like Jacob Ramsey, who obviously hasn't broke into the first team just yet, but still a very good backup. But if we can get a world-class centre mid with the money we have, it would be very good, and also possibly look into bringing in another world-class winger, because Rafinha, I don't know if you want to use the word world-class, but he's definitely our star winger. If I can get someone on the left-hand side, we could possibly either... It's down to how it goes now, because obviously we could get rid of Bergwijn. He's only been here a couple of seasons. Harrison did outperform him, but what I might do is try and bring in another winger and just keep Bergwijn, and Harrison for another season, see who performs the best, and the one that doesn't continue to perform will be going next window. As for forward players, I'm going to keep Brenner, I'm going to keep Rodrigo. Goalkeepers we're quite good for as well. Moulier is a fantastic keeper. Centre backs are actually got quite good, so I'm just going to go and have a look and see where we can strengthen. If I can't full out strengthen, I will just work on bringing in rotation, and these rotation players are going to be younger, because obviously that is what this club needs. They need a bit of an injection of younger players. So let's go into the third season of the transfer window. So that is going to be season 3 of the transfers done. Now there are going to be 2 pages here, so we have made more than one signing, but even though if we didn't, this is a massive player. We brought in Dominik Szoboszlai from RB Leipzig for 100 million. Obviously a lot of money, which is going to be in installments, because obviously we didn't have that type of money. We had about 70 odd million, so we put a little bit forward. You know, I think we put around 40 million up front for Szoboszlai. We did offload Chris Moore, and I'm not even going to say that because I will butcher it and I do not want to get it wrong, but Szoboszlai is a fantastic player. You guys probably would have heard of him in real life. Very good player in real life as well, not just on the game. These stats are ridiculously good. I mean, he's good at pretty much everything. Great penalty taker as well. Good set piece overall. And he's only 22, valued between 195 and 214. So when I said I wanted to bring in a world-class midfielder, this is a definition. He can obviously play also on the wing, but to be honest, he is more comfortable in the midfield, which he will be playing anyway. And we have also brought in another winger, so he will not be forced to play on the wing. But this is the type of player I want to bring in, because we've got Calvin Phillips, who has agreed a new deal. I've spent quite a bit of transfer budget as well on sort of contract sign-ons and stuff like that. So that midfield is pretty much complete now. We've got Calvin Phillips, Tolisso and Szoboszlai. That is a world-class midfield in my opinion. The next page then, now this winger again is going to be someone that has been playing in the Premier League for a while and is proven. He does get a lot of stick, and in real life I think possibly going to a big team isn't the answer for him. I don't know if he's ready, but it is going to be none other than Richarlison from Everton. 45 million, which isn't actually too bad for him in my opinion. He is valued a touch more. He is going to be playing on the left-hand side, and he instantly does get into the team. He was one of the wingers which was available that wasn't sort of tied down to a club and was open to moving. It was a battle between me getting him and Manchester United. He did choose us. We have finished above them, you know, in every season that we've played, I'm pretty sure of. But his stats are very good, or attributes, whatever you want to say. I know people say different things. He is 26, so he's not ridiculously young, but also, you know, he's got sort of like 5-6 years before he even gets to an age where you think about possibly getting a replacement in. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to show you, if I go to the tactics screen here, this is the team that is going to be our best team if you were to go by, you know, what it puts in. So we've got Moulier, Dallas, Carboni, Struck, Firpo, Rocker. Actually, why is Rocker in there? Okay, right, well let's just change this then. So it is going to be Phillips, Tolisso, Szoboszlai in the midfield. This I'm really excited to see how that works out. Rafinha, Richarlison, and also Brenner, which I believe now means we have got obviously Rafinha, Brazilian, Richarlison definitely Brazilian, and Brenner Brazilian. We have got a trio of Brazilian players, so the chemistry should be absolutely fantastic up there. Definitely a lot of flair. But that is going to be the team. We've got a fantastic bench now as well, and reserves. And hopefully we can go into this third season and possibly it's going to be a big, it's quite a big push, you know, to go up another level, because last season we did finish third. I think we can still see that, possibly we can't, but last season we did finish third, but the gap between even second was ridiculous. So let's hopefully go in and possibly win a trophy as well as get top 4. Let's get into season 3. Before we get into season 3 though, guys, please do leave this video a like and also drop a comment below of what you think of the signings so far, and also who would you have signed in this rebuild. Last but definitely not least, do hit the sub button as well, turn on notifications. This way you're going to be notified when I upload, go live, which I am live 2 to 3 times a week, and also when I believe you get notified when I do a community post. But let's get into season 3 and see how we do. Another season done, that is season 3. Now, we have been given 81 million. Now, I will say I have seen, where as the calendar simulates, there are some players that have left the club, but these are the players which I couldn't get to agree a new contract on, and also I couldn't seem to sell for a reasonable price. So unfortunately, we have had quite a few players go on the free, meaning that we obviously have had some wage come back to us, which probably is why our transfer budget is slightly higher. Now, This season, I'm hoping we've managed to sort of stay in that top 4. I wouldn't be too gutted if we don't get into the top 2, because the gap was honestly ridiculous between the 3rd place and 2nd. But let's have a look. Okay, yeah, I'm a bit disappointed with that, to be honest. I mean, I say that because obviously the past seasons have been good. Way sort of like, it's a bit annoying, not annoying, but I wasn't expected to get to the Champions League. We're expecting it in the first season, so we actually drop out of the Champions League now, and I'm wondering if that is because we got to the semis of the Champions League, so that's quite a lot of games extra that were played there. Also the quarters of the FA Cup and the Carabao, so a lot of games have been played. As you can see, we finished 5th place, so we do get Europa League football, but we were 4 points off getting into the top 4 again. It would have been nice to maintain Champions League. The only good thing about this is really that I do believe we've got a very, very good chance of winning Europa League, so that could be a European trophy to the club. That is the only positive I can really think of about that. Rafinha getting top goal scorer, best match rating and assists, so he has definitely been sort of the definitely the star player since we've started. We were actually the best at scoring goals in the league with 82, and goals conceded with the 6th best. So that tells me now that the firepower up top is fine, but we need to strengthen the back line, because at the end of the day we have got good centre backs, but they are arguably future centre backs. They're still growing into their own, so it could be worth bringing in a pre-made world-class centre back, or maybe strengthening the fullbacks, because going forward clearly isn't an issue. The midfield shouldn't be an issue either, because we've got a great centre defensive midfielder. We've obviously got Szoboszlai in centre mid. We've also got Tolisso in that box-to-box. So that sort of tells me where we need to strengthen. But let's have a quick look then and go into the actual squad. So we'll filter it by goals. So we're saying Rafinha with 23, we've got Rodrigo with 17, Richarlison with 17, Brennan with 16, and Jack Harrison with 12. So that is good to see, because that just shows that a lot of players are getting a lot of goals. It does also tell me that possibly we could look to move on Bergwijn. Obviously, it was a risky signing, but that's 2 seasons now. But I can't even actually, he's down here actually, I can see him. Yeah, he's going to be going. He obviously isn't good enough to break into the starting 11, and when he does come on, he's not exactly doing great, is he? So he will be going, unfortunately. I really wanted that to work as well. We go into assists then. So we've got Rafinha and Richarlison, or Rafinha on 22, Richarlison on 12. We've then got Calvin Phillips from that CDM role with contributing 11, Jack Harrison with 10, Brennan with 9, Szoboszlai with 8. And also Szoboszlai not exactly having a out there season with the stats, but quite a good match rating overall, so I'm not too annoyed with that. Obviously Rafinha definitely certifying himself in number 1 there, but overall not a bad season, I would say, in terms of goal scorers. We definitely seem to have mastered that, but maybe it's the defence that needs a little bit of strengthening. So hopefully next season, which will be the 4th season, we've got 2 more seasons to try and either, I don't know if we're going to be able to win the Premier League, but hopefully in this next season we can win a European trophy. But let's get into the 4th season of the transfers and see where we strengthen. So that is going to be season 4 of the transfers done, and we've spent big again. We've gone in for a centre-half who gets a lot of stick in real life, but he looks very good in the game at least, even if he's not the best in real life. But that is going to be Ben White from Arsenal for 45 million. Now, he's 26, and his attributes are really good. He's 6'1", obviously known for being like a ball-playing defender in real life, so it's quite good to have one of them in your team, so hopefully he can do that for us. But to be honest, the reason I signed him is because he wasn't ridiculously expensive. Obviously, his nearly 4-star ability, so he's going to be getting into the first team relatively right away. So that's the first signing. We then go to Feyenoord and bring in a left-back who is going to be an upgrade on our current left-back, and that is Tyrell Malacia for 52 million. Again, pretty much a 4-star ability, but he is just such a good player. He's very reasonable. He's pretty quick indeed, actually. Not the tallest. Tackling's quite good. Good work rate. But again, it's the age. Obviously, our left back is getting quite old now, so he's going to take the first team slot. And then we've got a backup in Junior Firpo. Obviously, he is better than Firpo right off the rip before he's even played. We then go into Salzburg, and we actually take... Well, this goes more of a... Because you'll see the players obviously on the right-hand side, which we are going to talk about. A lot of players have left this season. Players that I did try to offer contracts, they wouldn't accept, and I couldn't also sell because we were getting no offers. So that's really annoying when that happens, but sometimes, well, typically it does happen on every Football Manager save. We actually get Mohamed Kamara for 22.5 million, and he's a really good player just to have as a backup or first team, to be honest, because best role is ball winning midfielder. It is by quite a bit, but he can play pretty much everywhere on the pitch, and his attributes are really well balanced. I mean, he's got good acceleration, he's got good stamina, good position and good work rate. He's just sort of one of them players which I think is going to be not a selfish player. He's going to be like a Kante, you know, going to do everything for the win, put a shift in, and we play quite a high press system, so this guy does fit in quite well. And he's only 24. I can't say I've ever heard of him before, but when I saw him I was like, he looks quite good, we'll give him a go. Moving on then, so we then, obviously, these people that are left on the free, so we've got Charlie Allen, Somerville, Dean, we've got Roberts, Bray, Forshaw, Davies, Spencer. On to the next page. We do end up losing a few more players which I didn't want to lose on the free, especially. This guy here, obviously the player that we signed, he didn't actually have a long contract. I tried to renew it, he wasn't happy, so he left, which I am a bit annoyed about. We then got Click, we've got Helder Costa, obviously a player, Lorente, Paveda, several players I didn't want to leave on the free, but obviously I simulate mid-season. If I can't get a contract done at the start, unless the staff do it, they go, and that's the reality of it. We do then spend the money which we freed up to bring in another midfield player to potentially get into the first team, if not just to have, and that is going to be Conor Gallagher from Chelsea. Obviously, you know, a player that is doing very well in real life now, who was out on loan. 32.5 million, and again, very good attributes, 24 years old, nearly 4-star ability, and his value is almost double what we paid for him right off the rip. So I mean, definitely a player which is a good shout to get, and he can sort of play, he can pretty much be the backup to Szoboszlai in that centre midfield role, and that makes our team look very, very strong. I'm always interested to see what it picks here, but if we go best 11, see what it says. So it's got Richarlison, Brenner, Rafinha, Szoboszlai. It's actually got Kamara as the best one. He might actually be a little bit better than Tolisso, so that's quite interesting. We then have Ben White, who I knew would instantly start. Also, our left back instantly gets in the team. So that is what the game thinks our best 11 is, and it isn't far off, to be honest. You could argue a few players. You know, obviously you got Conor Gallagher in there as well, Carboni. There's a lot of talent on the bench. Obviously Rodrigo's still at the club as well. But we're going to get into the 4th season, and hopefully this season we can win possibly Europa League. That's what I'd like to win. And then obviously if we don't get into the top 4, it's not a big deal, because we're gonna qualify for the Champions League through Europa League. But I just feel like we're doing so well, it would be disappointment not to win anything like a reasonably big trophy in the 5 years that we're at the club, because the squad is really good now, so there's no excuses. But let's get into the 4th season and see how we do. That is going to be the 4th season simulated, and I've seen here our balance is in the red, so we've got to be careful of what we spend going forward. But hopefully we did manage to win something, because it would be really good if we managed to win Europa League at least, because then if we didn't get into the top 4, at least we're still into the Champions League. We do have 42 million to spend here though, so it's not too bad. 35% of transfer revenue as well, but I'm hoping we did win something. Let's go and have a look. That's got on that. So we got to the final of Europa League. I knew we could, we had the team to do it, but we do face up against Chelsea, which obviously a team that you don't really expect to see in Europa League. But I mean, to be honest, it's still impressive we got to the final, but it would have been nice to win it. We also got into the FA Cup final, so we were definitely the nearly team this season, nearly getting Champions League as well by a point. So quite a disappointing season in terms of the outcome. We done well overall because we progressed in every tournament apart from the Carabao, which was quite disappointing. But it's not a bad season for what we done. 2nd best goal scorers, 3rd best at conceding, only conceding 30. Richarlison top goal scorer. Rafinha there with the highest match rating, which I think he's got every season. Rafinha with 29 assists as well. So now, this last season, what we're going to do first is quickly go into the squad. So goal-wise, we've got Richarlison scoring 29. We've got Rafinha scoring 26. Struck coming in with 15. Obviously, I imagine that has to be from set pieces. What are his stats like? 16 heading. So, I mean, probably from set pieces, I imagine, with that. We've got 9 goals for Harrison. We've got 8 for Bergwijn. We've got 8 for Gallagher. Assists, we've got 29. 10 for Szoboszlai. 9 for Richarlison. 8 for Harrison and 8 for Brenner. So what we're going to try and do this last season is we're going to have to try... I'm going to look at the team. So we have a look at the team. We've got Brenner. We've obviously got Rodrigo. Brenner's sort of that 3-star ability. I am honestly tempted to go out, probably try and sell the likes of Bergwijn. Possibly, I want to keep Talisca if I can. Possibly sell the likes of Bergwijn and replace him and bring in a full-on world-class out there striker. Brenner's doing a great job, but I think if we had sort of like a complete out-and-out world-class striker that's scoring sort of 20-30 goals a season, then possibly we could be alright. Or I might even consider just consider swapping these about. Maybe putting Brent. Oh no, maybe not. That was another option. Obviously, but the other position I do really want to strengthen, which I don't know if we can now, would be to bring in another right back, because obviously Dallas, he's 34 years old at the end of the day. We're also going to look into the under-21s, because obviously we have still got quite a few players in the squad, but we definitely don't really want to lose anyone else, because we don't have a ridiculously massive squad. And, you know, if we put, you know, 3, for example, is it going to let me do it? If we were to put players on this, fill this up completely, sorry, then we're going to have 2 reserves, which is fine, but it's not as much as we started with, so I don't really want to sell anyone unless I have to. But let's get into the last transfer window and hopefully be able to sign a couple of players to either, 1, go out and buy a full-out world-class striker, or 2, just get a little bit of depth going forward. Now, I know I said I wasn't going to spend big for the last window, but I did spend big, just because I do want to see us win at least one trophy, like an actual, you know, important trophy, because we've done so well in terms of league finishes, especially towards the start of the save. We've got such a strong squad now, but there was 2 areas which I've definitely strengthened this season, and that is going to be the right back from Arsenal. One of the best right backs currently in this save that I could get, that was available, is Tommy Asu from Arsenal. Honestly, an incredible player. 15 tackling right off the rip. Again, not necessarily the most quickest fullback. Decent, but not the most quickest. But he is 6'2", so he's a bit more of a physical fullback. That gives us now a world-class right back and a world-class left back. So our defensive back line should honestly be very, very solid now. There should be no reason why we can see goals, because we've got 2 good centre-backs, good full-backs, and we've also got a good ball-winning midfielder or defensive midfielder in there. He's also 26, so he's got, you know, years upon years of growth and just time he can play for the club. So a very good sign in there. Also going to have a good link up with Ben White. Didn't even realise about that. Moving on then, we decided to go all out for a striker, because Rodrigo has left on the free. He wouldn't accept a contract, and also the one club that I could have sold him to, which was Las Palmas, I believe it was, he didn't want to go to, so he ended up going for free, which I don't know why it's not updated here, but we went anyway, and we signed Arizo from Granada. It's a player I've used quite a bit on this game, to be honest. I had him when I had a Bournemouth save, and he was really good. And he did cost a bit. He was 86 million after the add-ons and all of this, but he is a very good player. Obviously 4-star ability. He's only 22 as well, but this is why I signed him. He's obviously 15 finishing here. 15 finishing. He's got 16 acceleration, 17 agility, 14 pace, and penalties are good, heading's quite good. He's just an all-round decent striker. He's not the tallest, but he's tall enough to win headers, so this heading stat actually does get used quite a bit, and he will definitely get into the first team. But as we've always done on this video, let's go into the tactics. We'll see what they say is the best 11. But then, there we go. So it's put Arizo right in, as I thought it would do. It's also got Tommy Asu in there. And that is pretty much the team I would say is the best. Obviously, now we've got a few more players on the bench now. A few of these, obviously, like Rodrigo is going. But I feel like I've left this team now in a very good situation. It's a very young team. They've got experience in there as well. We've somehow managed to hold on to Rafinha and Phillips the entire save, which I didn't think we were going to be able to do. But this next season, obviously we are going to be going into it, but we've qualified for Europa again. I really want to win that this season, and also I'd like to, if I don't manage to win the Premier League, which, to be honest, one thing I will say, this season which we just played, obviously it was a lot closer than what it has been in terms of everyone being able to win it, so hopefully we even got a shot at that. But let's get into the last season and hopefully win something. So that is the final season simulated. Now, I've seen here, we've not left him in the best sort of financial status. 112 million in the red, not ideal. There's definitely a few players which I wish I possibly would have stuck with from the first season, because we had quite a good season starting off, didn't we? But overall, I am happy with how it's gone so far, though, just because obviously they were in relegation, and consistently we've gotten Champions League or Europa League around that area, and you do need to spend to do that. We've been given 30 million. Obviously this is the last season, which we've just done basically, so we're not going to be spending it, but they would have had 30 million to work with. But let's go ahead and see how we've done, and hopefully we can prove that spending money does win you something. Okay, I'll actually take that. So Leeds pushing back into third place. Granted, it is on goal difference, and again we were a point off getting into the second spot, which isn't, it's a bit disappointing, but still it's Champions League football. We also win the Carabao Cup. We lose to the, that's Tottenham twice. We lose to the quarterfinal, or in the quarterfinals against Tottenham there, and also the third round against Tottenham. Every single game was against Tottenham in a cup. That is crazy that we actually got matched against them 3 times. But overall, I'm happy with how the season's gone. Obviously, Rafinha's by far been our best player pretty much every single season. And, you know, a surprise that we actually managed to keep him, because there are a lot of clubs that did want to buy him, but luckily I managed to tie him down to a contract, which is probably why we've done so well. You know, 5th best in the league there for scoring goals, 64. 4th best for goals conceded. To be honest, it's sort of like, I feel like we definitely could have done better. Like, it would have felt a lot better at the end of these 5 seasons if we would have won at least the Europa League. Obviously, I weren't expected to win the Champions League and stuff like that, but with the team that we've got, I am surprised we haven't done slightly better. But overall, it has been a successful rebuild. We have taken them from sort of a relegation sort of side, not always relegation side, but sort of around that, you know, 14th, 15th. Obviously, last season was 17th place. And we have consistently got them into Europa or to Champions League. And we've also won them a cup. So overall, very good. But there's definitely some players which I wish I maybe didn't sign or bring in. So like the first season, obviously, we had quite... We can actually look at it. We'll have a quick look. We go all the way back here. So the likes of like this Bergwijn one wasn't a great signing, to be honest, because at the end of the day, it was a risk, and I said it was a risk, but I thought he was going to do better, but obviously he didn't. And obviously this guy here, it wasn't a big loss, but I wish he would have done better. Same with Jacob Ramsey. And I think with these players here, I probably shouldn't have brought in another player right away the following season. Sometimes because the transfer budget there, you don't have to spend it, which is something which I definitely did in this save, which wasn't ideal. But I'm going to be honest, going to upload how it went, because there's no point in recording 2 or 3 of these until we become top of the league. At the end of the day, this is what we managed to do in 5 seasons. It's not horrific, but I do think a little better, you know, a little bit more of smarter transfer decisions, and we definitely could have gone up. And possibly, I don't think we could have won the league because City seemed to be dominant, but we definitely could have come away with a European trophy. But if we look into the squad then, so top goal scorer, we've got Rafinha, we've got Arizo with 18, Richarlison, who's not been a bad signing. He's been up there by the stats quite a lot. Not the best match rate in this season, but he's contributing quite a lot with goals. He's been pretty average with it, but you know, he's definitely not been the flop of the signing, that is for sure. Assists, it's going to be Rafinha again. He's definitely been the star man though, right? He's definitely been the star man. Every season got the highest match rating. So I mean, definitely, if we didn't have him, I don't know where we'd be. Obviously, Arizo actually scoring 18, nearly our top goal scorer. So a very good signing there, and also a very young signing. But going forward with this team, I mean, I've left them in a good place when it comes to a team. And despite the finances, they don't need to sign players now, because they have got a very good team going on. Obviously, they've got Mulier in goal, they've got Tomiyasu, Ben White, Struck, Malacia, Phillips, Kamara, Saboslo, Richarlison, Rafinha, Arizo. And on the bench, you've obviously now got the likes of Clausen, Christensen, Gallagher, Brenner, Firpo, Harrison, Carboni, Dan James, Rocker, Arison, Tolisso, Ramsey, and Robin as well. So I mean, and also there are some talented players in the under-21 team, and they also have 30 million they can spend. So I mean, overall, we've definitely left them in a better place than what they were. They're now known as a team that are pretty much going to guarantee European, if not Champions League football. So we've definitely got them up there in the rankings of that. And like I said, the only thing I would change is possibly that first season not spending as much, because I feel like there were some players that had a good season but got replaced anyway, which is my fault. But overall, very successful rebuild. And yeah, that is going to be it. But if you have enjoyed it, guys, please leave the video a like. Be sure to comment next who you want. Like I said, I've got a Spurs rebuild I'm working on. Then after that, I am open to suggestions. Be sure to subscribe to the channel as well. Do turn on notifications as well, because then you'll get notified when I premiere a video, go live, when I upload normally, or when I do a community post. It's a great way to stay up to date with everything that's going on the channel and any new content that gets dropped. But that is going to be all for today, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.